Yesterday was St. Patty's Day. It was also St. Gertrude's Day, patron saint of cats and gardening and calmer seas and travelers. We kind of forget about poor St. Gertrude. She's been rather forgotten in streams of green beer. And St. Patty's Day, as we know it, did not originate in Ireland, nor was it, he was actually Irish. He was a Roman who was born in Britain. It started here, St. Patty's Day, as part of Irish pride. And this sermon was originally going to be how we find identity in what we worship, and how we turn symbols and icons into our identity, and how we find those markers of identity out in the world and they increase. And on 3/15, on Friday last, my little dog Mika chased a feral cat out of my front yard and into the swamp and was gone. And that is why she's here today, because she's still recovering. She has a little bit of the without you I'm nothing going on. And I think we can all relate to that after a traumatic event. Open crate, open door, open gate, feral cat, running. Little white dog, chasing. Dog gone. And my life and my soul turned upside down, and blame and shame swirled all around. Even as we jumped into action, posters, calling local police, shelters, veterinaries, get the rubber boots, wade into the pain. And we kept going until the sun set. And it rose, and no little dog. Where's home when you're lost? And I was lost. And it didn't take long for many who were dear to me, as well as several strangers, to say, we never know God's will. And this is happening for a reason.
Oh, God.
Well, I disagree. And at that moment, those were nothing short of poison arrows into my already wounded heart. I have experienced God's will, and I've experienced God's grace, or God, however you define it. I've given sermons on it. This stuff is hard. Mika is not my first lost dog. Annie was. She was a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, the smallest of the Spaniels. They gave her the longest name, and she was a great teacher. She was my crisis partner during the aftermath of 9/11, and she taught me more probably than any spiritual teacher I've ever had. She was an old lady by then. Deaf, partially blind, still playful, fully retired, always loved. But because she was deaf, she could no longer hear me call. And so, being the very clever trainer I was, I started creating ways to solve the problem. For instance, we would flash the lights on and off, and in any room, if the lights were flashed on and off, that meant find Lizzie. But outside, I had a problem that I had to rely on tech. And there was this new wonderful tech, the laser pointer. The cats thought it was manna from heaven. And so I thought, this is perfect. I'll shine the laser pointer, I'll toss a treat onto the light, and then she'll run and get the treat. And then slowly I weaned that to shining, and then she'd look and say, hey, where's my treat? And she'd come running back to me, and I'd give her the treat. So wherever I pointed the laser pointer, she would look at the laser pointer, run to it, and then run to me. And so I thought, I'm safe. I've solved the problem, I'm not safe. She's safe, I'm safe. And then, one day, the front gate got left open and I was in the backyard. And I don't know if she was chasing a butterfly or whatever, but she took off and I saw her take off and I took off after her, and dusk was setting. And she chased a car tail light all the way out of sight. Right down, we ran as fast as we could because I had trained her to follow a little red light. Sometimes doing the best we can is not exactly what we intended. And so we desperately got into the car and we drove all over. She was deaf. She couldn't hear us. We drove all over looking, posters were made up, the deal. I lost it. Tears poured down like Niagara, like Victoria. I thought I would turn myself inside out. 2 o'clock came. David and Joshua went to bed, haunted by images of smashed spaniels falling into grates. I prayed like I'd never prayed before, studying energy and healing systems. I did Reiki. Tears filling my eyes until there were no more sobs, until I had no more water I felt left in my body. At this point, I felt my heart would stop beating and would never start again. And I didn't know it at the time, but this was probably when I became a Reiki master. I actually had done several trainings for years and years before. I prayed as the life force flowed through me, and something changed. I stepped into a space that had absolutely no words. I've never been in a space like that before. And all I felt was love. Love and stillness, and the sun rose. And David awoke and found me still on the porch, still. And one look he knew she had not come home. But what he did see, I have no idea. I got into the van and I just started to drive. I had no idea where I was going. I would just pass a person on the street, and then another, and then a third. I crossed the 6 lanes that's Highway 17 over to the river, and I saw a gal who was jogging, and another, and the third. And I stopped the third. I don't know why I stopped her. It was blocks away from my house. I said, "Have you seen a little spaniel?" "Yes." "Yes." "Yes, last night on my run." "Oh my, is she yours?" "I am hers." "Oh, I don't have her. I couldn't keep her for the night, so I gave her to this other lady who lives over here. I don't know her name, but I'll show you the house." And she gets into my van. Strangers. White van. Just gets right in. The way it's supposed to be. We drove. And she shows me the house. We go to the house and knock on the door. She goes, "Oh yes, I had the little dog, but I couldn't keep her overnight, so I gave her to a friend." "And that friend?" "Oh, yes, let me call her right away." And so she calls her, and they're just in the process of getting this little dog to the vet. And I say, "Please wait, I am the person, I'll be right there." And I drove across the bridge and far away down and found my little spaniel that day, and she ran straight to me as soon as she saw me and smelled me. And the mother said, "We knew she was very loved," said the woman surrounded by her children, who I will tell you looked more than a little disappointed that I had found her. "Thank you so much for taking her in overnight," I said. We thought she lived on this side of the river because she was found next to the highway entrance on the other side of the bridge in Mandarin." And I'm like, "But wait, I thought she was found on my side of the bridge." And she apparently was, but somehow in that course there was an invisible force, and we don't know who that was, that took her in their car over the Mandarin Bridge. People speak and preach of the will of God, but here's the thing, the will of God is a funny thing. People are always trying to turn it into some dogma, or creed, or they want to make rules of, these are the rules about the will of God, or these are the admonishments about the rules of God, and really, it's absolutely none of those things. And do I believe in it? Well, yeah, I'm really out here coming out saying, yeah, I believe in the will of God. I may not believe in God, but this will thing, this will of that great mystery that has no name, what is it? It's love. All-encompassing, timeless, without space. It is there, and I have felt it. And if you follow it, really follow it, it will lead you to your heart's desires over and over and over again. And so you see, I have experience, and then open crate, open door, open gate, feral cat, lost dog, again. Each opened by a different person who felt the full weight of guilt and shame. At the same time was trying to deflect it. It's what we do. At the same time, we bury our feelings, we avoid them, we deny them. And I will tell you, I was not only filled with shame, I was terrified. She ran into the swamp. I live in Florida. There are hungry things with big teeth right there. Prayer circles happened, shamans lit fires. I sat in mire. I reached out, yet still in despair. And I am so grateful for every single novena, every single Hail Mary, every single spell that was sent up to bring that little girl home. Because I think every single bit of it wove the web around all of us. But I plunged into mourning far deeper than I expected. I just felt I had no purchase, and I kept on falling. And my little girl, I wailed, I was lost. I was lost. And it was real, and it was organic, and it was complex. Did you know that when we think of our children, and when we think of our beloved pets, the same areas in our brain light up? And even if you've never had children, that same area in your brain lights up. That's the intensity. That's who we are. And my little girl, I wailed and I wailed, and suddenly it was not just for this wonderful new little girl who's only been in her house for a couple of months. It wasn't just for Annie, who's been gone for many years. The pulls of grief, they pull things. They pull things along like threads, unresolved from our past. I started crying for a little girl I had lost to a miscarriage 34 years ago. She had a name, Susanna. I'd never really mourned her. They didn't do that then. Put her in the freezer and bring her so we could dispose of her. There was no funeral, there was no burial. She was just wrapped up in my freezer and then taken to my obstetrician. And that had somehow gone into this thread that got pulled out. There's a modern proverb that goes like this: if you're holding a cup of coffee and someone bumps into you, why did you spill the coffee? And some of the first is like, why spill the coffee? Because so-and-so bumped into me. But if we get out of the blame, you spilled coffee because coffee was what was in your cup. If your cup had been filled with tea, you would have spilled tea. The point is that whatever you have in your cup is what's going to get spilled. So, and life is a bumpy ride, and whatever you hit into those bumps, what's there is gonna spill out. We can't just stuff compassion and kindness and love and possibilities on top of a cup that's already so full of pain and shame and blame. We have to do the dishes daily. We walk around in denial and we don't tend to our emotions, we deny them, not understanding that our emotions are our real connections to our souls. Our emotions are our real connections to our souls. We like to pretend that they're not because they're messy. And we want soul to be clean and pretty, a happy shade of blue, not like the fire of orange. But it's all colors. How are we to be here if we're not the meaning-making animals? It's how we walk around. What's in your cup when you get bumped? What spills out? And I was bumped bad. My ego got all up in it right after nightfall fell, even after I threw shade on the wonderful man who's working on our home, because the gate was the last open door through which she escaped. And he was the one who came and told us that he had seen her in the front yard. We tend to blame the last straw and ourselves, as trying to pray and send Reiki, and I was stuck and in grief, and I was bargaining with the divine and all that stuff you do. Please, please, Mika, just come home. Just come home. And then the bargaining starts. I will train you every single day. I will show you that the world is filled with love. I will keep you safe. Oh, what? What hubris. What hubris. Don't be ridiculous. Life has a way of humbling us, even for those of us who meditate daily, pray daily, and read, and deeply believe. My little voice said crater when I came home 20 minutes ago, and I did not listen. That kept running over and over and over in my head. You walked through the door, she was loose, your little voice said crater, and you did not listen. And then I discovered that each member of my home, including the man working there, had the same variation on a theme. How arrogant of any of us to think that we were responsible. I was the one obviously in charge of the feral cat, right? So morning came, and no Mika. And we called, and we walked, we put up posters, and we prayed, and we talked, and we shared our shame. We spoke to others all over, in Scotland, in Switzerland, all over here. The contractor was helping us look, then he said something. He said, I saw her in the yard and I went after her, but she kept running. And I thought, oh, you never run after a loose dog. You never run after a loose dog. If you forget all of the spiritual message of this sermon, you're going to walk away with, you never run after a loose dog. You make a sound, you bend down, you call them to you. It's best if you have a sandwich you can pull out, or maybe some freeze-dried liver. Yet almost all owners and those who are untrained will immediately go chasing, causing the dog to run. And of course, blame came back for a moment. You heard it, right? You felt it ripple all the way out. Everybody did that. Oh, yeah, because that was the last moment. It wasn't the open crate. It wasn't the open front door. No. We have to stop that. We're all responsible, but not for all of it. We're all responsible, but not for all of it. And so I took a deep breath, and then this still voice broke through. Do not chase after love. Open your heart. Allow love to come home to you. Yes.
Unintended consequences.
Do not chase after love. Open your heart. Allow love to come home to you. And I knew that shame and blame were blocking the door. Just as tangible doors had been left open, the real interior door to my soul was blocked. Even as my heart was breaking, the light could not shine through. And so the door was flung open, and I wailed and I prayed, and the sun rose, and we went to church. And as we were singing, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, we started singing Enter, Rejoice, and Come Home. And other people there picked up on it because they knew. My son and his girlfriend were home at the time when two men appeared at the door with a little dog in their arms while we were at church. Having followed the signs and the chalk markings, and I believe the love, Mika was home. She was a mess. She had a ring of tar around her belly, all the way down and on her front. We don't know where she was. Her story is her own. But one of them had seen her, and the other one had seen a poster, and they brought her home. Our lives are not governed by some invisible storyteller who maps out tragedy and heartbreak for us to teach us lessons as part of his perverse pedagogy. We are the ones that do that. Mika was not traumatized and lost, so I could learn this teaching or share this message with you. She had her own adventure that I will never know, and many beings, children, dogs, cats, women and men, are lost daily and never come home. But if we are brave, we can look at ourselves and see what is in our cup at any given moment. We can open our hearts to collective salvations. We can call love home, for we are the ones who bar the door, and sometimes it takes the terror of an open door to learn that. God's will is love, timeless, eternal, unconditional, without beginning, and without end. The will of the divine is love, but we are the ones who write the love stories, so it's your choice. How is it going to lead? We may be surrounded by love, but we are the ones who have to call love home into our hearts, and in doing so, come home to ourselves. First, we have to do the dishes. Then we open the door, and then we can come home to ourselves. Blessed be. Amen. Namaste. I am so very grateful. Mika, come! Mika, come! Hey, good girl, yeah! something this noisy get lost, right?